Yeah. Family, y'all. Just keep it tight, keep it tight, keep it tight. Oh, right. Yeah. Here we go.
There's someone who is asking us for advice on what to do. Let's at least get through how it is that we should respond to him or her. The next chapter is about moral decision-making and pastoral guidance. So when someone comes to you asking for advice on what they should do because they're in a difficult situation and they don't know what to do, what's right, wrong, good, bad, should I, shouldn't I, how do you respond? Do you respond by telling them what they should do in that situation?
How they feel it.
No.
Circumstances.
We don't should on other people. We don't should on other people. We don't use the word should when people come to us asking us what they should do. What should I do? Well, you should do. No. We don't do that. Instead, what are we going to do? Father Richard Gula says, first, you need to know what are your own biases, if you will. When it comes to decision making, are you more deontological? Are you a more law and order sort of person, a rule-following sort of person who will do your duty, do your obligation? Simply to know what kind of person you are, because people are going to come to you with other styles, if you will. Are you more teleological? If so, then you're always thinking about the goal and the end, right? You formulate and weigh alternatives. What are various options? And you may be a more teleological person. Can you imagine when the teleological person who wants to weigh different options goes to the deontological person? You have to follow certain rules, looking for advice. What's going to happen? Follow me? Better for us to be aware of how there are different styles of people. The other one, he says, are the more relational, responsible people. The relational, responsible people are the ones who ask what's happening and try to determine the most harmonious act with respect to the context. Okay, so tell me about the situation, and how will that affect your relationship with God and others and yourself, etc. So by recognizing that there are different types of people, suddenly we understand. Well, no wonder that priest chased you out of the confessional crying, because obviously he was a more deontological person, say, than these others who were going to help you to weigh alternatives or to think about the consequences on relationships. So pastoral moral guidance. This is when a concrete person, a particular person, comes to you in a dilemma and asks what he or she should do. Essentially, our question to ourselves is, given where that person is, what is the next step that person can take toward the ultimate goal of living by God's call to be a more loving person? So, this person is in a dilemma. We're not helping this person to strategize 10 years into the future. It's just, what's the next step? I'm going to help you make the next step. It's directed to the best possible moral achievement of the person for now. I mean, you're not going to be able to solve all this person's problems, but you're just helping them in this immediate situation for now, encouraging them and supporting them in their openness and in their growth. It's realizing that all of us are works in progress. None of us is perfect. The people who come to us are not going to have all the answers in a day. They're just coming to us looking for help in this moment, and then they're going to go away and they're going to make their own decision. And let's just be honest. We think that what we say is often important, but what happens is they're just looking for another perspective, maybe someone to listen, someone to help challenge them, to help inform their decision. They're going to go off and weigh whatever you said with whatever is in their heart to see if whatever you've said rings true in their experience. So it's not like you're this almighty person who's going to shape what they're going to do. Ultimately, they're going to make their own decision.
You have to be a sounding board for them.
Often we're sounding board, which means that we are there.
Ears.
So in this way, what we're doing is we have this balancing act because we want to respect our moral tradition, what other people in our tradition says is right and wrong. But also, we need to balance that with this person's experience, because this person is having a challenge for whatever reason. So it requires respect for the individual and respect for the norms of our community. So now we're caught in this situation. This person is in this dilemma because now we have this person and we have the norms that typically we follow. First of all, we need to know that the Catholic moral tradition doesn't condemn individuals who are unable to fulfill moral imperatives of objective morality. If you can't do it, if the church says to do something and you can't do it, the church does not condemn you for it, for whatever reason. There's obviously a reason for which you can't do it. Interesting. Many priests in our experience may have condemned others. Wait a minute, that's not the church's moral theology position. No. The church has always said that if people can't do it, then there's obviously some reason that they couldn't do it. Don't condemn that person. So, if you're involved, we often refer to these as a helping relationship or as pastoral counseling. If someone comes to you in a helping relationship, think a family member, right? Family member comes to you, mom, dad, aunt, uncle, whatever your relationship is. What should I do? What should we do first? I think Mario said it well. Be open to understanding the other person's history and values. How are you going to do that? By just listening. When a person comes to me after Mass and says, Father, can we talk? The first part of it is not us talking. It's me listening. It's me listening to what's going on. Tell me everything. No, I don't say tell me everything. My time is only more limited. If I had all the time in the world, it's essentially that's the attitude, right? The attitude is listening to that other person. Father Richard Gula says that after that we want to encourage and challenge them to capitalize on their strengths, but also to live within their limits. That's Father Richard Gula. He says, also realize that the world is filled with ambiguity, conflict, and sinfulness. So a lot of what we hear, there's a lot of conflict and a lot of sinfulness, and we're not going to be able to resolve it all. We're just trying to help this person with the next step now. So he says, help them to clarify their values and to see what's taking place, what's happening as part of their larger life story, right? I bet if you were to think about what's happening to you now, it fits within this larger story of your life. It's our challenge as ministers to help them to think through the what else and the what if questions. Think about that for a moment. If someone else comes to you asking for your advice, listen to them, but then we help them to figure out what are various options, the what else question. What else could you do? What are you thinking of doing? In pastoral counseling, anytime someone asks you a question, we put the question back on them. When they say, what do you think I should do? How do I respond? What do you think you should do? It's so subtle that most people don't even catch it. Excuse me. It's so subtle that, they say, Father, blah, blah, blah. They tell the whole story. What do you think? What should I do? My first question back at them, what do you think you should do? Okay? You listen to them, they talk about that, and then we get into the what else question. Okay? Are there other options? Are there other things you can do? Because you want to make the best decision in this circumstance. So I hear that's one idea of one thing you could do. What are other possible ideas? Because ultimately, it's about helping them to think through the situation, right? Oh, and maybe sometimes we're suggesting things, but never in a way that says you should do this, but essentially just raising the question, well, what if you talk to her about it? So that you're helping them with various options, but they're essentially thinking through the options. What else? And the consequences, which is the what if question. So remember those two questions. If someone comes to you saying, what should I do? What else and what if? Listen to the story. What could they be doing? What else could they be doing? Help them think of options. And what if, okay? Now think about all of those options. What would happen if you did each one of those? Okay, let's start with the first one. What would happen if you did that? What would happen if you did this? Okay. What would happen if you do that? Okay. Because ultimately what that person has to do is they have to figure out which one feels right for him or her to do in that situation. It's not about you saying, well, I think you should do this. Ooh, be careful, don't do that. Because suddenly that puts the responsibility on you, and they will come back hating you forever. That may be too strong, but they'll be saying, well, he told me I should do that. No, ultimately it's about helping them to make their own decision. And so the other thing that we can do, in addition to asking what else and what if, helping them think through the possibilities and the consequences, is to help enlighten it through the eyes of faith. Why are they coming to Father Jamie or any of us here? Well, because they're looking for some wisdom from our faith experience often. So the question becomes, are there any stories from the Bible, from our church history, the tradition, the saints of the church, etc., the church's teaching, anything that might help them to bring some light into that situation and think about it differently? And then finally, it's simply helping them imagine living inside each alternative essentially helping them to figure out, okay, how would it feel? How does it feel, the thought of going down this road, how does that feel? Okay? How does the thought of going down this road feel? How does the thought of going down this road feel? It's almost like trying on shoes, right? Okay? We've come up with 3 different possibilities here. It's like trying on 3 different pairs of shoes. Which one feels more comfortable? Which one do you think you might find yourself going down?